Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the October 9th Landmarks Commission meeting. It's nice to see everybody in person and also virtually. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law in section 101.021 of the Codified Ordinance of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings based on Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by roll call vote. Recusal from any case due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the beginning of the presentation. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, virtual attendees will use the raised hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raised hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile versions and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking the raised hand icon again and muting your microphone. Call-in users should unmute or can unmute by using *6. All meeting activities are being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter submitted through the proper channels have been considered. The proper channels for comments are sending an email to the landmark@clevelandohio.gov email address with a comment or letter, calling or leaving a message at 216-664-2532, or sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall located at 601 Lakeside Avenue, Suite 519. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the stated deadline are collected by Landmark staff and disseminated to the commission members prior to any scheduled meeting.
All right, to go over the meeting rules and procedures, the chair will call each agenda item and then each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation is concluded, the chair will ask Landmark staff to summarize Design Review Advisory Committee recommendations and any public comments received. The deadline for public comment is noon on the Tuesday prior to any regularly scheduled Cleveland Landmarks Commission meeting. Any received comments are distributed to commission members prior to the meeting, and staff will also identify any members of the public present and scheduled to speak. Public comment is allowed at the discretion of the chair, and any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item in which they have an interest. The chair will then request a recommendation from staff. The commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any commission member except the chair may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called.
We will call the October 9th, 2025 Landmarks Commission meeting to order. Mr. Boston, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson?
Here. Mr.
Dreyer? Mr. Dulick?
Here.
Councilmember Gray? Mr. Lozier? Mr. Lull?
Present.
Mr. Sambry?
Here.
Mr. Strickland?
Here.
Mr. Trasick?
Here.
Dr. Williams? And Ms. Trott?
Here.
Madam Chair, we do have quorum. I'd also like to note that we have Jessica Beam and myself from the Landmarks office present, and then Sierra Lipscomb from law with us today.
Excellent. Then we will begin with our certificates of appropriateness. We'd like to welcome our first applicant forward to announce yourself and then tell us about your project. The first applicant is located at 5218 Detroit Avenue renovations.
How y'all doing?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for having us. I know this project is actually been.
You can, yep.
Yep, there you go. So this building was previously presented to Landmarks and Historic West probably 2 or 3 years ago by a different architect with without a approval, and the previous tenant actually painted the building blue without the owner's knowledge. And so what we're trying to do now that that tenant is gone is restore the building and some of the historic character. It's not a historically designated building, but it's certainly important in the neighborhood as a gateway to Gordon Square. So 5218 sits right across from the Reinberger Auditorium. And, you know, currently it's an empty building with a storefront that's aging, but right on the sidewalk where you've got a little bit of a grade change that's kind of difficult. It's actually a grade change that happens within the sidewalk. So the owner would like to replace the storefront with kind of a better thermal property storefront, relocate the entry to the side of the building, right off the parking. And then as we work through so we go to the next slide. So these are some of the images. So there's the current image, which is it painted bluish purple. And then below it is a historic image of what it was previously. So it was painted brick. We're not restoring or painting over something that's a natural brick. And if you go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is the site plan. So kind of doing some restriping, relocating the door. With the new storefront windows, we're actually proposing lowering the masonry sill a little bit, just to get a little bit more daylight into the space. We're not adding any occupants. It's still one single occupant that will hopefully take on the space. And yeah, adding, you know, some striping for ADA, and of course we'll go through zoning, you know, once we actually submit drawings to the for permit. But if you go to the next slide.
Just slight delay. There you go.
Okay. So this is what we're proposing. And actually, we started out by working with Northwest Neighborhoods because we noticed it in the last landmarks presentation, like that was kind of a group that hadn't been recognized. And so we went to them, are working with Ethan Wiggins and Tara at the public art to kind of make sure that we've got colors that fit with what the neighborhood would like to see, and then also explore some public art opportunities. So on the front, you could see where we're basically just going to now a black storefront window with a lowered sill, and then kind of restoring these windows to something that has a better thermal performance. Right now, the lights above the signage bin are painted bluish purple, and so we just paint those black and essentially just go to something that's resemblance of what was there before, but a little bit more contemporary, modern, and simple. If you go to the next slide. And then we also pick some preliminary colors, which are just, you know, like the positive red and magic black. Not that those colors are unfamiliar to anybody, but at least it gives it a little bit more specificity. So this is the side of the building, and you can see the location of the new storefront door. And then this wall is the one that we've identified as ripe for public art. And so this is essentially the gateway into the Gordon Square neighborhood. And so we're looking at that as something that we can, that we're highly interested in pursuing and hopefully make happen. We initially talked to Destination Cleveland, and now we're kind of working through the city, and hopefully that can get some traction in the coming months. And then I'm not sure if there's another slide, or that may be it. Yep, that's it. So again, it's pretty straightforward, but it's an important building that I think needs to be restored with some character. And it's so incredibly visible when you're driving down Detroit that I think as a gateway to kind of the whole Gordon Square, West 65th, you know, it's important to see this, to have an owner that sees the importance in making this happen.
Great. Thank you for the presentation.
Thanks.
Before we get to our comments, we will review the the Design Review Advisory Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This project was reviewed by the Historic West Cleveland Design Review Advisory Committee on October 1st. There was a lot of discussion about the proposed storefront change, some of the committee members mentioned that the proposed storefront windows are better proportions than the current existing ones. And liked that it was, a nice modern update, and wanted the colors of the doors that were kind of recessed on the property to match the storefront colors or match the building, which our applicant has made that change. So originally presented, they were just white, and so now they're repainted. And there was a bit of discussion about the lights over the signage, and that, difficulty with the sidewalk presence because it is right on the sidewalk. There's no recess entry. And so the local is okay with either keeping a front door or having it moved to the side if that's allowed. And just wanted to, their recommendation for the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness was to essentially work with the staff on the final color options.
Perfect. Thank you. And Landmark staff recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the applicant noted, the building and its sign panel, sign panel was replaced and the paint was applied in 2023 without permits. We understand the need to move that door to the side, given the occupancy of the building. It has to have an outside swinging door, but there's no setback. You can't have an outside swinging door when you're right on the sidewalk line. So it's sort of one of those, moving it to the side makes sense to us. Feel that the new layout of the storefront windows is appropriate. I do think there's an opportunity here to kind of see what's under that signage panel, because historically those windows went a bit higher. You can still see them on the inside. There's some space between the ceiling and where those windows would have ended. There's probably the storefront originally ended probably where that stone element is, and then there was a natural sign panel or sign band above that. We also feel that the stone elements should be picked out in a stone color, like Sherwin-Williams stone lion or something that mimics sandstone or limestone. And then also just that we would agree with local, the red that's chosen is maybe a bit too intense of a red, and something more of a brick or terracotta tone might be more appropriate, but staff is happy to work with the applicant on final color selections. So we recommend approval with some conditions and staff follow-up.
Thank you. Okay, then we will open up the table to the commission for questions and comments. Would like to start us off.
Madam Chair, if I could. I think my main question is if the parking lot could be brought up to code with some landscaping along Detroit Avenue. I'm fine with the building and understand the need to have the entry door on the side. But with the parking against the sidewalk directly creates kind of an unpleasant condition. So if there's an opportunity to add landscaping along that stretch, I think that'd be a great benefit to the project.
Yeah, and we have to, as part of our, sorry, do you guys want to, is it all right if I respond to each one? As part of our next steps, when we actually go to zoning and look at the PRO and kind of what the requirements are, we'll be happy to address whatever it is. Currently, it's just a cracked, large concrete field. So if there's an opportunity to do that, certainly I think it makes sense. We're pushing up against the there's like those concrete steps that go into what used to be the loading dock area. Those are still there. So if we push a little bit north, we may have to shift a parking space over to the opposite side of the drive aisle. But I mean, it's certainly something that we're open to exploring to soften up that edge.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. We do have a quick question from a commission member who wasn't able to join us today. They wanted to just confirm if you know the type of paint that was used to paint the blue, and was it appropriate for painting masonry?
I do not, because that was done by the tenant, and none of the documentation on what paint was used was ever kind of shared. And we could probably have someone take a look at it, and I'm sure someone from Sherwin-Williams could look at it and say this is probably what it was.
Right.
But yeah, we don't have any records of that, unfortunately.
I think the concern is that that would be a recommendation to do that, just to make sure you're not putting new paint over a paint that isn't appropriate and then it causes damage. But no issue with painting the brick because it was painted prior. Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It looked like when they painted the brick blue, that they didn't do any. I'm sorry. It looked like when they painted the brick blue, the previous tenant didn't do any pointing of the brick or any repairs there. Were any of those issues going to be addressed?
They weren't anticipated.
Okay.
Certainly it's wasn't anticipated. Certainly the health of the brick is important, and you know, I haven't noticed anything drastic, but at the same time, like if it's, you know, if it's a need, then you don't want to just paint over a patch. So I could talk to the owner about just having someone take a look at, you know, well, one, the paint type to make sure it was the right stuff, and then also just kind of make sure that we don't have any issues. I wasn't really involved in what happened back then, so I don't know what the previous architect had kind of done or proposed, but it's certainly a consideration we can make to, because I mean, this is all about restoring the health of the building and then hopefully finding a long-term tenant that's gonna, you know, take care of it.
I think this is definitely a step in the right direction, and I'm very enthusiastic about what you're doing. I am in agreement with staff and the local committee in that I think maybe a more toned down naturalistic red would be much more appropriate there, and to highlight the original sandstone details with a sandstone or a limestone color. But overall, I pleased to see that something is moving forward, and hopefully you'll have it available for a great tenant.
Thank you. Would it be all right if that, like, when we look at the sandstone color, we're applying that to kind of the front facade, but maybe leaving the side facade as it is, just so that when we do have public art, we're not gonna, you know, have I mean, obviously they're gonna paint over whatever's there, but
Yeah, I think there's probably like some sandstone lintels
Yeah.
from the bricked-in windows. Those don't need to be emphasized. It's mainly the front, maybe just along the
Okay.
um
the piers on the corner.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Mr. Strickland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with the idea of moving the entrance around to the side. And I agree with the Design Review Committee's comments that the size and spacing of the window panels in the new configuration is an improvement over what's there presently. From the pictures, it looks like the sign band is not very substantial at all. And I agree with Landmark staff's comments with regard to consideration of possibly removing that sign band and moving the transom or the head of the storefront windows up to be just under that lintel. So I'd like the applicant to respond to Landmark staff's recommendation and consideration of that change.
Yeah, thank you. We haven't done any demolition, and I actually haven't been able to get inside the space, but I know it's drywall kind of above it, so you know, it's certainly something we can investigate, and if it's a possibility, you know, it's a great opportunity if it is. So working with storefronts,
agree.
you just never know what you get, but it's certainly worth a look.
Right. And I think those gooseneck fixtures don't really add, you know, to the character of the building. So if those had to be moved up and replaced with an alternate fixture, I wouldn't have any problem with that. And if it does stay as it's currently presented, how would the signage be applied to that sign panel? And why did you pick black as a background for that
Well, so
panel?
I think you hit on one of the good points is that, the original sign band was probably what's above now. So if we were to expand that, have the ability to expand that storefront, then obviously those fixtures would move and probably change to something that's, more efficient. Why the black was picked, the color before, we won't say original, but the color before was a light gray. And in our conversation with the Historic West in the October 1st meeting, that was just kind of the direction we were given as opposed to a light gray. They like the kind of sharpness of matching the storefront.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Julick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm in concurrence with all of my fellow commissioners' comments so far, but I particularly want to emphasize, if at all possible, the real opportunity here is at least rediscovering and recreating and honoring that original masonry opening. The fact that the sign band overlaps those two sides and is so large, I think really is preventing the proportions even of the way you've designed the storefront, which is a lot nicer than what you've got there. Like lowering the sill to achieve even reasonable proportions. I understand why you did that. But I'm thinking if that masonry opening can be restored and then a properly proportioned storefront and signage band within that framed opening, even the signage within the storefront system would be, I believe, the most appropriate solution here. So I, through the chair to the applicant, is that something that you and the owner would be willing to consider?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that makes sense as well. Can we incorporate a new signage band into that opening? I think, again, it's just a matter of starting to do some demolition and see what we find, but finding some of that character, which, just leads back to a very pure opening, and then the masonry kind of wrap around it. Obviously the signage band as it is doesn't really want to extend the entire length of the frontage. So if we can, I think it's certainly worth exploring and yeah, incorporating into the design.
Mr. Messon?
Staff also just want to add, if you were willing to make those levels of changes, I'd recommend talking to the folks down the storefront renovation program, as they might have some funding available for that level of visual impact. And we're happy to link you up with them.
Yeah, for sure. I can pass it on to the owner. I know he's traveling and wanted to join remotely, but I don't think he did, so it was able to. So yes, I can certainly pass it along.
Here in fairly consistent alignment, would someone like to make a motion? Okay, Mr. Sandberry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The two new windows on the recessed portion of the wall, are the windows that are currently there the original windows?
I believe they are, but they're in pretty bad shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would recommend or maybe require that simulated divided lights go back in those two openings, just to replicate that steel window instead of just a punched opening. And then is there a reason that you're putting a new door opening on the side instead of reopening the one that's currently infilled?
Yeah, so the one that's there now opens directly onto the sidewalk, and there's essentially like
I mean,
this,
on the side elevation, it looks like in. Can you go to the elevation drawing? You have an infilled opening.
Yeah, that was the original brick. It's actually when I took a measure of it, it's only like a 6'6" high
Okay.
opening, and looks like it's been bricked for a while. So thinking about how people are going to enter the space, and also wanted to leave the largest field possible for public art. Yeah, it certainly would be great if you could cut that open, but it looks like it's been infilled for quite a while, and it just made sense to cut a new opening that's standard size.
Okay, thank you.
But I'll certainly appreciate the thoughts on the windows.
Thank you, Mr. Sandberry. So once again, I'm hearing fairly consistent alignment. Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Dulick, sorry, I couldn't see your hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll give it a shot. I think a lot of really good comments, and I think we're all excited about the potential that this building has to be a real contribution to this important gateway portion of this district. I'd like to make a motion to approve as presented with the requirement that the existing masonry opening be reconstituted, and to study the proportions of the storefront. Like to require that the replaced windows on the setback elevation be exterior applied divided light mullions, and that the final storefront design and colors be approved by Landmark staff, and a further recommendation to engage the City of Cleveland storefront program folks for potential resources that they can bring to bear. I think that covers it.
Mr. Dulick, do you want to include the highlighting the accent stone elements?
Oh,
on the
yes.
Front.
Yes, thank you.
elevation?
Good catch. Yes, I would like to require that the stone accents on the front elevation and as they wrap the corners be in an appropriate color as approved by Landmark staff. Thank you.
And one additional, exploring, softening the street side and incorporating landscape to coordinate with the new door location and parking.
Yes.
Explore that, see if that can.
Yeah, I think exploring landscaping and possible parking reconfiguration along the street would recommend that.
All right, so we have a motion on the table with conditions. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Samberry. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Strickland?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I heard in the motion the requirement that that side door location be moved to reopen the bricked-in masonry opening. Is that
No.
the motion?
No, the motion is approved as presented, and that includes the side door. If the requirement is for that, the masonry opening to be brought back
On
with
the
the
front
storefront
elevation.
on the front elevation.
For the windows, the
the
window
windows.
masonry opening on the front.
I see. Well, I thank you for that clarification. I was confused with the wording of the motion, but yeah, I'd be in favor of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Strickland. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Mr. Lull,
Yes.
Mr. Samberry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes,
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
and Ms. Trott.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Excellent.
All right, thank you for your time,
Congratulations.
guys.
Look forward to seeing your project move forward.
All right, have a good one.
Me too. We'll now move on to our second applicant located at 11526 Clifton Boulevard, signage and awning. Like to welcome the applicant. Please unmute your mic or come up to the table and tell us about your project. Is anyone present from Be Next Awning and Graphics?
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Yes, we can hear you now.
Hi, good morning. How you
Morning.
doing today?
Good, thank you.
So actually, the right representative was Aldo, but right now he's not available, so I will take care of it. My name is Jenny. I'm the project manager assistant of BNext.
Could you
So,
state your last name too,
today
Jenny,
we-
before you start, just so we have it for our record?
Sure, my last name is Carreras.
Thank you.
Carreras.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
So we have our project called Safar. As you can see here, this is a restaurant. We want to move forward with the project as a China letter sign on the front of the building. And we are going to work on the awnings as well as the windows. If you can please. Thank you. So as you can see here, we are going to do a illuminated China letter on front of the building called Safar. This is a plow actually. Here we can see the measurements. This project was in process of meeting like twice. We had to make a few changes with the owner of the maid that looks like the sign. If you can please move the slides. Here we can see the installation description, how we're going to attach at the wall, and the electrical details as well. Yep, you can move it, please. And here are the Windows decals. So as you can see, what we're planning to do is just a simple decals on the windows. On the first four, we are going to put the name of Safar divided by 2 on the middle. And then we have the third four, which is just a letter S with the design shape of the logo. And then we have the last two, pretty much same design, but the last one has the S on the middle. We are not going to tint the windows. We are just going to put those simple decals there. So people will be able to see, Next, please. This is just a side plan of the cloud channel letter on the building. And then I think we have the last one is just the surrounding. Yes, that's just the surrounding. So pretty much that's it. If you have any questions.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. Before we get to our questions, we're going to hear the Design Review Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This project was reviewed by the Historic West Cleveland Design Review Advisory Committee twice. It was initially introduced in August 6th, and at that time there was a lot of conversation about the awnings because they had proposed a vestibule that come out in a half moon awning. So what you see here is what was tabled, and because the local committee didn't find that change to the awning system appropriate for this particular building and location, and there was also discussion about shifting the window graphics to not be cut off in the middle of the name of the restaurant, and the importance of having a very consistent look on this building. The building has been consistently requested and asked and required of applicants for signage on the building to have a neon or neon-like element included in the signage. And so that was requested for like a neon-like tubing or flex tube or something like that. And so when the project returned in October, there was more discussion on what was returned, what was presented here. And so the committee had the same discussion about the importance of having that neon-like appearance that is consistent on the building, and noted that there was a lot of different logos on the window graphics, but there's a discussion that that's part of the restaurant and the restaurant group's branding, and also wanting to see that also what was presented at that time was that the signage for the Safar Fine Casual Dining on the wall would be a push-through sign, and then also cloud channel letters as well. And so they did recommend the issuance of certificate of appropriateness with that main Safar wall sign to be internally illuminated LED flex tube to match the others on the building, and then for the window graphics to just be shifted to not be interrupted by the existing window framing. But they were happy to see that the discussion about the awning and vestibule had resolved itself with a more appropriate, consistent awning across the building.
And just for clarification, I'm sorry if I am the only one who didn't understand it. So does the presentation contain the recommendation of changing to an internally illuminated LED flex tube?
No, we did not receive
Okay,
a changed presentation from the meeting last week.
okay, perfect, sorry. All right, and then landmark staff recommendation?
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Staff agrees with local that adding a neon element would be appropriate. It's been consistent on this building for the past 30 or so years. And we feel that that's a reasonable request. Again, it doesn't have to be neon, the LED flex tube, something that gives a neon appearance would be appropriate. At this point, we're not comfortable with recommending approval since the submission shows a cloud sign, but then there was discussion of a aluminum face cabinet with push-through acrylic letters at the local committee, so it's unclear what's actually being proposed. We also feel that the proposed sign, it crowds the sign band a bit, but it's tough to tell since we don't really have measurements of the building and the sign together that show how that will actually fit into that space. For that reason, and I guess the lack of measurements, we don't have word back from zoning on whether this requires any variances either. I don't think it will, but we haven't been able to get that confirmation. So ultimately, yeah, I think staff just needs more detail, or would like more detail before we'd be comfortable recommending approval.
Okay, thank you. And we will then open up the table to the commission for questions and comments. Who'd like to start us off? Mr. Stanberry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my question is, why is the main signage so far away from the front door? Kind of makes you feel like the front door is going to be under the main sign where the address is, but it's actually 2 awnings away. Is there any way to maybe identify which awning is the main door? And I know that was the intent of the half moon, but maybe relocating that sign towards the door entrance be a wise change.
Agree. Thank you, Mr. Stanberry. Does the applicant like to respond to that? Why that bay was selected for the main sign versus over the main door?
Well, being honest, this was chosen by the client. He was the one that chose the place where the sign is going to be, but definitely I will take your recommendations and I will let him know about it.
Are we, is our assumption correct that the current main door, that is the second door to the left, will continue to be the main door into the facility?
So far, yes.
So, Madam Chair, if I could add, part of that discussion at the August meeting that had that half moon awning is that this is the combination of 2 different storefronts. And so there's a separation of, at that time discussion that the Safar sign is over the entrance to the main restaurant area. And then the entrance on the far left is for the bar entrance. And so they wanted the signage for the restaurant itself to be above the more fine casual dining restaurant entrance versus the bar entrance.
Okay. So yeah, I don't believe there's a door there. Doesn't look like it.
There is, it's
Because they're not going all the way to the corner, correct? They're taking. Is the fence still there?
Yeah.
No?
the patio fencing has been removed.
Could you go back to the plan for 1 second? Site plan, sorry. Right there. So, okay, so it is just the 85 feet right there. Okay. And are these two spaces, so they're having one sign, but for two different establishments? Because that was all one facility before that are all connected in.
It would be one same facility, it's just one entrance would be closer to the bar area, and then one would be for the entrance into the dining area. But it's the same restaurant, it's just.
Two different
Mhm.
settings, is what you're saying. I still would encourage exploration of where that sign should be. It's a little confusing for anyone who is new to it. Because the signage is somewhat consistent on the windows, and then your main, identity signage is over the one door. I just wonder if there's a better way to organize both the window graphics and the sign location so that it's understood that this is all one restaurant with two different settings. And I would encourage some exploration of where those window graphics are to help define the different, restaurant aspects. So in concept, I do like the window graphics, but I would have to agree with local. It's a little confusing why there's 3 different layouts to the window graphics. Because this is so long, I think the consistency of either the definition of the two different aspects of the restaurant would be my preference, or the consistency across, all the windows, that it's all part of the same establishment. But I agree, exploring where that main sign should be looked into. Other questions and comments from the commission? So, not hearing any questions, I think we have two options. Either I'd ask for somebody to put forward a motion. If people are not asking questions because they're not comfortable with where the presentation is, then I would ask for a motion to, recommendation to table this, to help answer the questions that staff has outlined. Or I would ask somebody to ask or make a motion to move this forward. Mr. Dulick?
Madam Chair, thank you. I'd like to make a recommendation that we request the presenter to table this
Okay,
for time for making modifications as suggested by the commission and staff.
okay, thank you for that recommendation. So to the presenter, there has been a recommendation to table this because I think staff has outlined that we need more information on the sign to align with the local recommendation, because there's conflicting information from within the presentation, let alone towards the recommendation of the type of sign. Clarification on the window graphics of both local and I just brought up, and recommendation that the main sign is reduced and or studied where it is. So those are, we'd like to table it to give you time to study those 4 things or 3 things, 4 things, I guess. But we do need your permission. What tabling means is that we wouldn't take a vote today, but you could return as soon as 2 weeks if there's room on that agenda to represent the project, addressing those 4 items, and the modifications related to those 4 items.
Okay.
So we have your
No problem.
approval. Do we have your approval to table
Yeah.
you today? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
I think
Thank
we
you.
agree. It's, we do like the direction you're going, and we're excited to see the organization come here. But I think we just need a little bit more study before we can, make a ruling on this. Great. So we do
Okay,
have,
no problem.
perfect. We do have the owner's permission. Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to table.
Great. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Samberry. So we have a motion. We have a second. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Dulick?
Yes.
Mr. Lull?
Yes.
Mr. Samberry?
Yes.
Mr. Strickland?
Yes.
Mr. Trasick?
Yes.
And Ms. Trott?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
All right. Excellent. So we look forward to seeing you come back with the fine details. Please reach out to staff if you have any questions related to the 4 items that I listed out.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you, you too.
Bye-bye.
We'll now move on to our next applicant located at 3007 Detroit Avenue renovations.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Chad Curtis, and I've got Matt Springer from My Place Group. We're here to present a project that includes 3 homes that'll be commercial uses on Detroit Avenue. We could go to the next slide.
Madam Chair, just for some clarification, that the only case in front of us right now is the 3007 Detroit.
Okay.
So it's just the one building. They presented changes to the 3007 Detroit and then another building on Church at local. But it was determined that the changes were minimal enough that we could handle that administratively from that point. So they're really, today we're just focusing on the 3007 Detroit case, and we've only seen those 2 at this point.
So your presentation can be for a overview related to the 3 buildings and what your master plan is, but we are only making a ruling on the 3007. What is it?
Correct.
3007
Yes.
Detroit. Okay, perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. And
Yeah,
then,
just so I'm clear too. So Dan, you're saying that because the changes are just color and very minimal for the other house, that basically we don't need to go through this board for that?
Yes, yeah, we're handling that one administratively since it was approved by local without any issues.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So
All right.
then I can also then explain the context since we're only talking about the one property right now. So this is a property I believe dates back almost to the original Taylor family who owned most of Ohio City before it was Ohio City. So I think it's a pretty unique property for Cleveland. The one home that's next to this one that we're not presenting right now is a brick home that we believe dates back to the early 1800s. It's right next to that battery shop in this image. Could be one of the oldest homes in Cleveland. I don't think it's the original Taylor farmhouse, but when you look up the Taylor farmhouse address, just kind of, I believe all you guys appreciate history, so a little bit about this. The address to the house seems to be between my brick house and the battery shop. So at some point, you think back, it's pretty cool, this property where people settled in this region originally before it was even a city, right on the lake. With a view sitting out there and their farmland behind, which is now streets like Clinton was one of the son's names. Pretty cool history. What our intention for the brick house, just a high level, we'll be coming back with a plan for that, which will include a full landscape plan for the rest of the property. So what we're talking about right now at this 3007 Detroit is kind of really just to the building itself, not so much to the landscaping surrounding it. We intend to come back before those buildings are completed. We're working with the tenant for that, which would be a food and beverage type of use. We haven't defined it officially yet. The house on Detroit next to it, we're discussing today, our tenant next door, which is Luca's Dog Barkery. They've been in business for several years now. They've done terrific in the neighborhood, and now they're looking to expand. They're going to offer self-grooming and full-service grooming, as well as holistic medicine for animals, and so non-pharmaceutical drugs and treatments for pets. So that will be the use inside of this house. Obviously, this set of houses are on one parcel, and they've been owned by the same family dating back to the 1800s, and we purchased that from them. So it's been residential for a long time. The zoning allows a multitude of uses. And so being that this is in a commercial neighborhood, I've developed the properties next to it. We own the buildings around the corner from it as well. We have a lot of apartments. I think we need more uses to service those residents and the other residents and homes throughout the neighborhood. And so really defining this property as a retail use that adds to the amenities of the neighborhood is really our goal. And to do that, I think one of the biggest changes, if we go on to maybe some of the next slides, I can talk about, because this was the most highly discussed, this is a good picture, is the front of the home. So one of our plans includes putting a storefront window where those 2 windows are on the first floor. A comment which we're okay with at the last design review was bringing the storefront head up to the equal to where the front door is as well. And so that's kind of where we'll do that. A little bit of feedback also was to make the panes on that storefront 3 panes. So we're okay with that as well. That will be our intention. And then for the front door, obviously it's a beautiful fiberglass, historic door. So what we're going to do is, I asked if there's any pictures that the historical societies may have or anyone on the boards have, please send them to us. But our goal is to find a reclaimed door that matches the historic nature of the property, and kind of rebuilding even the side windows we believe that were there. We've restored houses like this in the neighborhood before, and obviously it's covered with vinyl siding. Now we see some type of trim detail on it, but we don't know what the real trim looks like until we actually take it off. So our intent with this property, beyond the storefront and the front door, is to strip all of the vinyl off. We'll uncover what's there. We assume there's some type of wood siding underneath it. Our plan would be, assuming that it's not restorable, which is why they covered it in the first place, is we would remove it or install a hardy board smooth siding over top of that, and then match the trim detail as we find it. We've got some renderings and elevations on some of the next pages that show essentially what our plan is, if it is what we think is underneath it. We could go to the next one. We could keep going to the elevations. And so that's the existing one. We could go to the next. Yeah. And so this kind of shows and what our intention is with the storefront window, adding some light fixtures over to give it more of a street presence, lighten up that area. Right now it's pretty dark because these homes are set back about 10 feet off of the sidewalk. Another unique feature, which when we get to the landscaping plan, we envision seating out front. It's one of the only places in Cleveland. We feel that there's the opportunity for a beautiful sunset view while enjoying coffee or drinks or food. So that's something that we would have that come in front of this as well. So lighting is important. Obviously, safety is important as well, and lighting helps that. What we also plan to do is above the front door is have a blade sign. That would be just for the tenant in the first floor. For what it matters, the second floor is currently an apartment, and we plan to keep it as an apartment. One of the other changes to this house, which is at the back of it, is you can see in the bottom left picture here, there's currently a slanted roof. We're going to bring it up so it's a usable space and have it kind of as a seasonal retail piece to this dog bakery. And so that where there's some windows now, we want to put in an opening window storefront type of system that allows people to walk up, buy things. Could be art, could be ice cream, could be a number of things, but opportunity for small vendors to come in and be able to rotate in that space. But the change there is the roof line we'll be bringing up and then putting in a little bit more larger windows, and then just some more lighting around the property from the sides and the back and front. Another important part, because the building is not ADA compliant now, we'll be adding a ramp in the middle of the property. So that's in the bottom right corner. You can kind of see that coming up. Some discussion we had at the prior design review was the spindle type on the railings. Frankly, we're impartial to what that is. This has more of a horizontal pattern. A comment about vertical elements in the railings is something that was said. We're open to either way, but the plan is to use black aluminum for that. The decking would be a Trex type decking, a synthetic wood, for durability and long lasting reasons. A comment that we got from the other board was to use tongue and groove. Honestly, I haven't used tongue and groove Trex decking before. I looked it up. It's really not too much more of a cost. So unless there was a practical difficulty implementing that into our boards, I would be fine using that as well. On the front of the home, you can see that in the current pictures, there's some type of existing wood railing steps, obviously not original. Our plan is to really just put in steps up as you see, a little landing, and then matching railing as it is on the ADA side. So I think overall that kind of hits most of the big buttons, and happy to go through any other details and questions. And obviously here's a picture of the colors. Yeah, important one is the color of this. We plan to use a Pacific blue with white trim. And then the storefront, it would be a dark bronze.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Before we get to our questions, we will go through the local design review committee recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This project was reviewed by the Historic Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee on October 2nd. There was, as our applicant noted, a lot of discussion about the storefront windows, and with some of the committee members wanting to keep the original fenestration in the front of the first floor, or discussion about how these homes have transitioned to a commercial use in a commercial area, and so it would be more appropriate to have the display window split into 3 to mimic the existing window configuration, and be reversible if you just infilled the center band. And as noted, there was discussion on paying attention to that entry door experience and wanting to see historically appropriate decking and railing. And so they did recommend the issuance of certificate of appropriateness with conditions, as noted, that the display windows in the front be divided into those 3 panels as discussed, and then the decking and railing to be more historically appropriate.
Right, thank you. And landmark staff recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Staff would agree with local. I think the decking and the railing materials are really, I guess that entrance feel is going to be very important to how this all works. To that end, I think the treatment of that front door is going to be critical, as the applicant mentioned. I think some exploratory demo is necessary. I know this building's been vinyl sided for a little over 20 years. If I recall, the commission approved it under an economic hardship claim back then, but I think there was insole brick under this. So you've got a few layers built out here. So I think it creates a weird boxy feeling to that front door that probably was once very elegant and had nice glass surrounds, and some of that might still be there, but I do think some careful exploratory demolition would be highly recommended before finalizing the plans for the front door. But we recommend a issue of certificate of appropriateness with those several conditions mentioned by local.
All right, excellent, thank you. Then we'll open up the floor to the commission for questions and comments. Who'd like to start us off? Stanberry?
Madam Chair, Mr. Secretary, I think if you're saying that the building was brick previously?
No, covered in insole brick, like the
Oh,
asphalt
okay.
shingle brick.
Got it.
Yes, yeah. It had a brick appearance. Not
Thank you.
not
That-
totally convincing, but
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
You had me writing down with tinsel brick too. I was like, oh man, is this brick under there?
All right, thank you, Mr. Stanberry. I guess one question, I'm sorry if I wasn't listening closely enough. You were talking about on the rear elevation of adjusting the roof line and adding windows for walk-up traffic. I guess I don't see that highlighted. So it's removing the shed roof there.
Yeah, so basically that bottom left picture shows there's been obviously multiple additions to this home at some points. This back most rear addition is that slanted portion you see on the bottom of that left picture. And so inside of that is a gutted bathroom, what looks like a kitchen remnants, or like an area where there was a kitchen. Frankly, it's got some fire damage in there, I think, from some type of incident in the past. And then it's a weird roof line. And so what we want to do is make it a usable, we don't want to demolish the space. We want to make it a usable space. So we want to bring up the roof line to give it a better space inside, where you see there's kind of one window now, which is right where the kitchen runs along there. We wanted to put in more windows, and then there is a door already there. So we just would be redoing the door and then putting lighting on it as well. And this, to give context, I don't know if you go back to this overall site plan, this is where we would be facing a really nice patio that we're going to incorporate into this whole project. So in this picture, if you see the upper left, you kind of got that driveway section and a sidewalk that runs through the whole front to back, goes up to the house and church. So we don't have an exact plan for it yet, but this, where there might have been a fourth house at one point, I would assume, or something, is an area that we were going to make an open to the public landscape patio. So this will be something like similar to how Rising Star has a really nice a gathering space and a patio out front that the public can kind of come and go. That's what we envision here. And so that's small, well, very small back portion of that house. It opens up to that. And this building is kind of this site is kind of a unique property because we own and have developed what we call the Testo building 2 doors down, which has Avalon Exchange, Lucas Bakery, and the new Cordelia's restaurant going into it. Both sides of the property are retail. So you have a retail on the Detroit side, which is where you think your natural foot traffic is, but also on Church Avenue, it's kind of the interior retail area of that neighborhood, kind of a nook inside of the neighborhood. And we want to talk to that area. So.
Sure. So are you replacing all the windows on this addition? Is that the only other place that you're replacing windows?
Yeah, so the windows right now are frankly in operable, good condition. So we plan to keep them everywhere except for the storefront and this back portion.
Okay. I like the design of this operable overhead door here on the south side in that it emulates the divided light of what you're replacing or other areas of the front or other areas of the house. Did you explore doing something similar on the front? Maybe not operable, but in a design that is like local set in 3 divisions of 3, so it emulates the double hung windows you are removing?
So that was so the comments we received from the previous board was looking at this upper left picture was raise the header of the new storefronts to match the front door. So that's one change. And then also go from 4 panels to 3 panels on the front.
Right. I only wonder if you do explore, when you do go from 4 to 3, if there is a way to incorporate even a false mullion so that it feels like the double hungs that are being removed rather than a, modern sort of storefront. But that's my personal opinion. And then I would agree with working with staff related to the siding restoration, the railing and doors, to give you some time to work through that. I think they're all important, but I feel comfortable with, staff working through with the applicant related to that. Overall, I'm in support of this. I do think it's a nice proposal. I do appreciate that you're going to restore the wood on the entire house and try to bring back the character. So overall, I'm in support of the project.
Thank you.
Other questions and comments from the commission? Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Turn your mic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the things that the chair just mentioned, the restoration of the wood of the house. You're keeping that transom over the door, including a vintage door and the side lights. I think there's a lot of good things that are happening here. My primary objection is to the window on the first floor on the front elevation. I think the 2 windows should be retained. I think once you remove all that siding that's there, you may find that those windows were longer, so it would give you more glazing if you want more light. But I think that horizontal window is not appropriate. I think retaining the 2 double hung windows or something on that order would be the way to go on this house. So those are my comments.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Other questions and comments from the commission? I will comment while we're waiting for others to put their hand up. One of our commission members who wasn't able to join us, Mr. Lozier, he is aligned with your comments related to retaining the existing window openings on the front Detroit elevation. And he also encourages to remove the gooseneck lighting from the front elevation also. And then, just stating he has no other issues with the balance of the lighting railing or composite decking. Other questions and comments from the commission? Not seeing any. Would someone like to put forward a motion? Once again, I'll ask, not seeing any additional comments, will someone put forward a motion?
Guess I'll take it.
The hand's going up and down. Ms. Anderson, didn't know if you were going to do, yes, go ahead.
I move to approve as presented, with the following modifications. The metal railing to be a vertical railing instead of horizontal. And for the first floor to retain the two separate double hung windows, matching the original if it's found to be different from what is seen once the siding is removed. Anything else?
Working with staff on the restoration of the siding for
Okay,
any, for any detailing
Yeah.
Specifically around the front door. Yeah.
around the front door.
Yes, so working with the staff on the restoration lighting.
All right, thank
All right.
you. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Stanberry. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing any, Mr. Mustin, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Mr. Lowe,
Yes.
Mr. Sandberry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
and Ms. Trent.
Yes.
All right, Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. You do have approval, so good luck with your project. If you have any follow-up questions, please follow up with staff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll then move on to our fourth applicant located at 2254 East 4th Street, site improvements at the Erie Street Cemetery.
Madam Chair, I will recuse.
All right, thank you.
Hey, I'm Emily Petz. I'm in site development. I'm a landscape architect. So I will be presenting our Erie Street Cemetery site improvements.
You have the clicker in front of
yeah, if you
you.
want to
You're
use
welcome
that.
to use that,
Great.
or just let
That's
Jessica know and she can advance them. There's a slight delay from when you push the button up to when it actually changes, so give it a second, or you'll speed through your slides.
Sometimes can be more than slight.
Yeah.
It's red now. You can go. No issue. Okay, so here is Erie Street Cemetery, currently. Can go ahead.
Tell her next slide whenever you want her to advance.
Okay, so here's a location map. I'm sure you all are familiar with the location. It's downtown, right across from the Progressive Field. Next slide. So it is a very historic cemetery. It's Cleveland's oldest cemetery. It was established in 1826 formally. The cemetery land was actually bought for $1 in hopes that this would be a permanent location, which was then on the outskirts of the city. It was in hopes to just have a settled location and not move people around so much. And it could be there forever. Many early pioneers, early mayors, Native Americans, and war veterans are buried here. Next slide. So I'm just going to go through the existing conditions. This is the existing drive aisle. It's currently about 20 feet wide. It's definitely in need of repair. I'm not sure when the last time any repairs were done to the drive. There are a few, areas of riveting and washout. It's not in horrible condition, but it definitely needs a touch up. And then there is actually existing granite curbing that runs along both sides. The curbs are 32 feet apart. And it is in good condition, but it needs reset. It's kind of sinking and failing in a lot of areas. And you can see the curbing on the lower right-hand photo there. Next slide. So these are the existing conditions of what were former pathways. So you can see again in the lower right-hand photo, there were a lot of pathways when this cemetery was created. This was a place where people would come as refuge in the city, as a green space, and be able to walk around and obviously visit loved ones. So this these photographs in color, that's kind of showing where existing paths were, one of the main paths through the cemetery there. Next slide. This is the existing conditions of the current memorial that's there. This is a Veterans Memorial. This stone, I have been told, may have been from the former chapel that was here. This isn't the exact location of the chapel, but it's very close by, which we will go through. It was the chapel of the cemetery that was there. And then there are a couple markers for memorials existing in this location now. Next slide. So these were some tree plantings that we implemented this spring of 2025. 10 trees were planted from a Cleveland Tree Coalition grant that was orchestrated by DCI. And I just helped place those, the locations, and also approve the species. There were a lot of locations that looked like they had former trees planted. So we kind of just tried to re-implement where those were. And provide new canopy and trees that just may have been lost over the years. Next slide. Also, 10 more trees are available, and we are hoping to plant those this fall. So this is just a map kind of showing where available plots were, and those actually turned out to be good locations when we were on site. So that's approximately where those were planted. And you can see there's plenty of room available for more trees. Next slide. So these are the proposed materials for the drive aisle. We are proposing stabilized crushed granite and then reset the curbing in place. The existing granite curbing, like I said, it's all in pretty good condition. Maybe we would have to supplement with a few pieces, but we would just use the same material. And then along the edges of the granite, we would provide a tree lawn with the drive aisle. So we are going to try to restore the alley of trees, which I'll show as well. Next slide. Here are the proposed furnishings. We're just thinking a really simple traditional bench from Victor Stanley. Also a traditional trash can, just kind of up the drive aisle. And then in the memorial space, we are proposing natural stone benches. those could either be, granite or sandstone, which we actually have some sandstone stockpiled in a location, I think maybe at Harvard Yard in the city. So we already have those available that we could use. Next slide. So this is kind of what I was talking about, recreating the historic alley of trees. On the upper right-hand photo, there is a historic photo that kind of gives you an idea of what the cemetery looked like. It definitely looks more pedestrian friendly and gives you that kind of enclosed space. The lower right-hand or left-hand photo is an inspiration photo of Central Park. So that's kind of what we're going for here, just kind of having a passive space with benches along a drive aisle and recreating that, that tree canopy. We also believe that the historic trees that were there were elms. So we would like to recreate that with using a newer hybrid cultivar of an elm. So like a Jefferson elm, which is an American elm cultivar. And we would try to, where we have space, re-tree that LA. Next slide. So this is the location of the former chapel. Carl actually was able to find this historic drawing of the location. So I was able to use that to locate the new memorial space. Next slide. So this is a just a drawing of the memorial design, and we'll see this all together. But this is the exact location of the former chapel. And I was thinking, we could do these stone benches kind of to replicate pews in the chapel. And it would just be a really passive memorial space. We could also put the existing markers for the veterans either at the end or maybe one in the middle as well. I don't have the exact location of those, but just using those as anchors in the design. And then around the chapel, we could do a hedge of evergreens just to kind of give that enclosed space in the plaza. And then also at the drive aisle, maybe adding some urn planters just to kind of show that historic feeling of walking up to the chapel. In this memorial, we would use the granite again, and then also reuse that stone where we could, the chapel stone, probably along the main aisle there with the crushed granite, kind of as intersecting the joints. Next slide. So this is everything together. There's the memorial kind of with everything labeled. I know it's a little small on the screen, but this would be the drive aisle would be reduced to 16 feet instead of 20. We don't think that the 20 foot is really necessary. We don't really want vehicular traffic in there. We want it to be more pedestrian and give the sense of enclosure with the tree canopy again. So you'll see the tree lawn on either side of the drive aisle that would be 8 foot wide, providing ample space for the trees. And then the drive aisle would be reduced to 16 feet. And then we would like to restore 2 of the main secondary pathways, the one in the middle by the memorial, and then one along East 9th Street, where it looks like there is ample space in between the existing trees to recreate that space. The benches would be scattered along the main drive aisle and then along the secondary paths as well, just to kind of give a place of destination to sit. Next slide. And then just to touch on future improvements of the cemetery, hopefully we could, working with streets, one day improve the road diet along the surrounding streets. There is plenty of room for a new sidewalk, tree lawn, and just make that a more welcoming street. Also, just to touch on it, maybe we could do openings in the cemetery walls so that the future developments on the south side and the new developments on the north side could actually use the space, and it could be, you know, more of a green space within the city. And then hopefully one day we could reset and restore some of the headstones and a lot of the markers that are buried there. So that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Before we get to our comments, we will start with Design Review Advisory Committee recommendations.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. This project went before the Greater Downtown Historic Design Review Advisory Committee on October 1st, so last week. We did not have quorum for that meeting, but the primary discussion was really around sort of security concerns for the cemetery in general. There was discussion of potential lighting in the future plans. And that led to I guess, sort of a broader discussion about just overall security and maintenance of the cemetery. You know, I think the members were in favor of the proposed changes and see them in a step in the right direction, but are interested in seeing like the overall long-term preservation, including maintenance of these new elements that are hopefully going to be installed soon. Yeah, so that they last for another 150 years, 200 years. Yeah.
All right, excellent, thank you. And then Landmark staff recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am personally excited about this project moving forward. This has been a bit of a passion project for me for the last 5 years. Back when the pandemic happened, I found myself still able to do some of my volunteer stuff as a Find a Grave volunteer, going throughout the cemetery and doing documentation. And I focused my energies this time on Erie Street Cemetery because there were a number of photo requests there, and I found myself going through with a copy of the 1919 cemetery survey along with the map that was shown earlier and trying to identify markers that were either missing or you couldn't read them anymore. So it was an interesting exercise, but it was difficult to navigate because none of these aisleways exist anymore. I knew that the bicentennial of the cemetery is coming up in 2026. So I felt it was an important time, at least 4 years in front of it, to try and actually start and develop something for this. So I did an extensive background of the history of the cemetery, documented the needed items in a basic restoration plan, and I collaborated with others that had an interest in restoring that. And I've shared all that information with MOCAP back then. And as we know, sometimes it takes a little while to get things done because money needs to be found, and here we are. It's great. I think we need to understand a little bit of how we got here, because this, as you saw from the earlier photographs, it was a place that people went and it was well laid out. But for a good portion of its history, the cemetery has been threatened by development. Various proposals throughout the years include the new site of Central Market, City Hall, and a convention hall and auditorium. In the 1920s, a portion of the site was proposed to be used as a connector to reach a proposed Huron-Lorraine Bridge to decrease automobile congestion by extending Carnegie Avenue to connect with Eagle Avenue. The City Plan Commission even held a contest for the future use of Erie Street Cemetery, but eventually the plans changed and now have the Lorraine-Carnegie Bridge. The Pioneers Memorial Association and the Early Settlers Association, who led the fight to save the cemetery, merged in 1938, and then were also instrumental in getting money allocated through the Works Progress Administration to restore the cemetery. On July 5th, 1939, 100 landscapers and stonemasons began work to clean the existing stonework, create the 8-foot-high wall, eliminate many of the walking paths, and re-gravel the remaining ones, resodding and planting trees, and installing new drainage and watering systems. Erie Street Cemetery was rededicated on July 21st, 1940. Even after this investment, additional proposals to turn the cemetery into much needed parking were put forth in the 1950s and 60s, including one to remove all the markers, but leaving the remains in place and paving over them. Now we are at a point where we can truly appreciate the space for the oasis that it is. This submission addresses or starts the repairs of the identified needed repairs. The materials are appropriate. But we do have one outstanding area in the memorial area. The Early Settlers Association does have a small area where they have their brick pavers that they have been using as memorials for their members or other sponsors or such. And would like to know what is the future of that program for them, since they have been heavily involved with the cemetery for years. Can it be incorporated? Should it be incorporated? What is that relationship for that? And we recommend that if there's with the future phased installation of new pathways, if we continue with the same materials and methods that are being done, that those would be done administratively, because there are more paths that can go in for a full walking experience. Other proposals regarding the walls, the 4 vaults, lighting, and signage should return to the commission for review. Restoration of the existing markers falls mainly as a day-to-day operation with the Division of Cemeteries, and review of these items would not necessarily fall to us, but a report of what they're going to do, how they will be maintained would be very welcome here. And again, to agree, this investment in the park concern also is with safety. It's closed from dusk till dawn, so the gates do not get closed. So we would ask the Department of Parks and Recreation to look into developing a security plan to make sure that this happens and to protect this investment and the future investment for this to last. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we will open up the floor of the commission for questions and comments.
I'll just say I'm very excited about these proposed improvements. I think they're very culturally sensitive to the cemetery as it's been for over 100 or 200 years now. So, and appreciate the history provided by Carl. So overall, very supportive of the changes.
Well, other questions and comments? I can read some of the comments from Mr. Lozier, who wasn't able to join us today. He is also excited and supportive of this project. Is excited about seeing the alley of the trees come back, but it should, his opinion was that it should all match the types of species of the existing historic trees, if possible. Is that the intent, that the species will be similar
That's the
and
intent.
match?
Yes, the elms were wiped out from Dutch elm disease. So we would just try to use a new hybrid that would be less
Perfect.
susceptible.
He questions if the stabilized crushed granite for the drive aisles is the most appropriate material for long term, but it seems like that's historically appropriate for a facility like this. And then also I would like to see the long-term maintenance plan for these improvements so that they can, endure the test of time, like the other parts of the cemetery have. But overall, and then finally, encourage to trim and prune the existing trees to improve the appearance and health of the trees, so that, you have that comprehensive up of all the landscaping, not just, the addition of new. But overall, he's very supportive of it. I'm very similar. I think he covered all the things. I'm excited to see this move forward, but would encourage, as this moves forward in future master plans and future improvements to, really the lighting and the openings would be wonderful to really encourage, the use of the space or the security of the space when the cemetery is not open. But overall, excited about the project. Other questions and comments from the commission? Ms. Anderson?
Yeah, I'm very excited to see this come to fruition. This is a very wonderful enhancement to the downtown area to make this a more vibrant place. I think it's important that the security be addressed, you know, making it really secure and locked when it's not open, because you know, I think you want to preserve the improvements that you're making and, you know, to make sure it's not defaced or otherwise vandalized. But this is a wonderful, wonderful project.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Anderson. Hearing fairly consistent alignment and not seeing many other questions, would someone like to put forward a motion? Ms. Anderson,
I'll move to approve as presented.
any requirements or recommendations?
Anything you suggest?
I think, the recommendations of staff to, study future lighting openings in the wall, and then submitting a maintenance plan,
Okay.
to staff. And then working with the Early Settlers Administration to identify future locations for named memorials. Is that the correct way to say it, Carl?
Pavers.
Pavers. Did I miss anything? Carl?
I'm in agreement with all of that.
Okay, so we have a motion with conditions and recommendations. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lull. So we have a motion second. Any further discussion? No? All right, then Mr. Musson, please call roll.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lull,
Yes.
Mr. Sambry,
Yes.
Mr. Strickland,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
and Ms. Trot.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously, a vote of 6-0 with 1 recusal.
All right, congratulations. We look forward to seeing this move forward.
Thanks so much.
Thank
We
you.
do as well.
That concludes our certificates of appropriateness related to the Cleveland Landmark nomination. Mr. Musson, you have an update?
We do have the schematic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Got ahead of myself. I apologize. That concludes our certificate of appropriateness. We'll move on to our schematic plan review. We'd like to welcome the applicant related to 10022 Madison Avenue storefront renovations.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good morning.
Hi, I'm sorry my voice is hoarse, but my name is Carlton Moore. I'm here to present this project this morning. If you could go to the first slide, and which gives us the site plan. Site plan, please. Yes, this is located on Madison Avenue. It was previously the CVS drugstore. I don't know the exact date of this building when it was constructed, but one of the interesting factors about it is it has all of the design features that the overlay district required at that particular time through the planning department, where the building is placed right at the sidewalk. There's plenty of landscaping in this on this site. With the building being placed directly at the property line, it becomes very pedestrian friendly. It mimics the other buildings that are located along Madison Avenue, and there are entranceways directly on Madison, so that there is no conflict between pedestrian car interaction when entering into this site. There's only there's one curb cut on the west side of this property that gives direct access to the parking area. There's a second curb cut right along Madison Avenue that gives access into this property, as well as there was, when this was a CVS drugstore, there was a drive-up window on that side. So with that being said, the proposals being, as part of this submission, there's no proposals being proposed for the existing site plan other than to make certain that all of the site lighting is operating as it was originally designed. If we can move to first slide, going back to the first slide showing the building elevation. Yes, we can start there. Like I said previously, this was a CVS drugstore. It's been closed for years. It's been over 5 years that this building has been sitting there unoccupied. And it's the owner's desire to change the use of this building from just a single-use CVS to creating 5 storefronts. And in doing that, if we can go to our elevation drawings. Well, could you move on? Just showing here at this first, with the elevation drawings, we're proposing that we create storefront window systems along the west elevation. There are 4 of them. The first one on the right-hand side was just a series of storefront windows. We're taking the center, it was 3 storefront windows. We're taking the center out and replacing it with a pair of entrance doors. And the window glazing to the right and to the left of the door will remain as it is. We're just taking the center and removing the center set of window panes and replacing it with a pair of storefront entrance doors. And we're duplicating that to the left for the other 3 storefronts that we're proposing that this building be divided up in. It's a good way of repurposing this building. This building is approximately 12,000 square feet of space that at some time, I guess CVS felt as if there was a need for that. But now in 2025, trying to rent out 12,000 square feet is not a practical way of using this building. And by dividing it up into 5 storefronts, it gives an opportunity for people within this neighborhood, this community, to lease out these individual spaces and come up with 5 uses for this building as opposed to just 1 use that's it's not practical to lease out at this time. So what we're proposing to do is just following what's already there. The canvas awnings above will be replaced, but they will be replaced back with the same color, the same as it is. And those that are worn on our right-hand side of the building, we're replacing those, coming back with the same color, same canvas material, and continuing that over each of the new storefront entranceways that we have. Each storefront will have a pair of doors with 2 side lights on both sides of it. And on the back side of the building, if you have a picture of that, there is a drive-up window, yeah, in that picture there, you see at the end of that, it was needed in the past, but we're going to remove that drive-up awning that's there because leasing out the tenant space, there would be no need for having a drive-up window. And this is the east elevation of the building. We're not proposing any changes to it. That's how it is, and it will remain, as well as it shows the southern elevation of this building, right along Madison. No proposed changes to it. The only changes that we're proposing is on the west side of the building to duplicate the same storefront windows with the aluminum storefronts and clear glass. Although it might appear as if the windows are dark, are black, but they will not be. They will be just clear glazing on the west side of this building. And that, with that being said, and if you have a photograph of the existing building, all of this graffiti that's been sprayed on this building will be removed and will be addressed. And with that, yeah, the graffiti there, all of that will be removed. This is the result of a building being closed and not used for so many years. So we will address that when we address creating the new storefront window systems there. With that, that concludes my schematic design proposal for the repurposing of this building. Do you have any questions?
All right, thank you for the presentation. Before we get to our questions, we will start with local design review committee recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This project was reviewed by the Historic West Cleveland Design Review Advisory Committee on the 1st. They did not take any action since it's a schematic review. Overall, they were supportive of putting in these new tenant storefronts on the side of the building to kind of revitalize this building and put new use into it in this kind of busy intersection. As our applicant noted that one of the comments is that those canvas awnings should remain canvas and kind of continue that theme. And there was a lot of discussion with the drive-through, keeping that or not keeping that. And so local said to either keep it and use it for community benefit, or if it's removed, then make sure to continue that architectural motif that follows down the wall in that kind of closed up space. And there was a bit of discussion at just the possibility of when it does come for like site changes, it may need more parking for the tenants that are there, and that the drawings would need to be updated to show the full length of the building. But otherwise, generally supportive of what the change of the building.
All right, thank you. Then Landmark staff recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Landmark staff feels this is an appropriate treatment of the building. We understand dividing it up into smaller, more marketable units makes sense. I guess we do request that moving forward, the new design sort of respects the natural divisions within the building. There are kind of 5 natural storefront units there. The way they're shown in the renderings doesn't exactly match this configuration, so we just want to ensure that sort of those masonry piers between the storefronts are respected, and those areas that look like you could basically just pop windows into them are where the windows go. But those are the details that we expect to get worked out moving forward as this moves into measured drawings and more finalized plans.
Perfect. Thank you. Then we will open up the floor for to the commission for questions and comments. Would like to start us off? I guess I'll start us off because I'm fairly familiar with this building. I was just looking at it the other day. I guess that was what caught my eye also is the rendering doesn't appear to match the architectural detailing on the building. So in concept, I'm in support of it as long as the architectural elements like the piers are respected, so that it's working with the existing architecture. I would recommend as this continues to move forward. I like the concept of the canopies and continuing it around to the west elevation, but would encourage identifying where signage would be placed for each storefront potentially. So there is that, sort of uniformity of understanding of where those signs would be placed at minimum with some of that architectural detail. Because here it doesn't look like the south unit would have enough space where actually I think it would. And you may or may not need to put one of those new windows with doors on it. So in concept, I'm in support of the approach, but would ask the applicant to study and bring a plan that is aligned with the exterior existing elevations to indicate where the units would be so that we understand, the extents. But overall, the concept, I'm in support of the approach. Any other questions and comments? Mr. Well?
I would agree with your comments, and I would also ask when it comes back to bring a detailed landscaping plan. I guess a question to the applicant is if the existing fence at the West Boulevard Madison corner would remain.
Yes, it would be. We're not proposing to change it. For site as it is, we're not proposing any changes to the fencing that's existing there or the lush landscaping that's already at this location. We're strictly changing the building elevation to accommodate separate retail tenant lease spaces.
Anything else, Mr. Fall?
That's all for me.
Okay, just on a follow-up to that, will you be maintaining or removing the monument sign that sits at the corner diagonally?
No, I don't see that it will be replaced. Any signage will be strictly on the building itself, and that will come before your committee under a separate application for building signage.
Just be sure to note on any future, site plans, noting that that monument sign will be removed, in its entirety, so that, we're all aligned on that approach.
Excuse me, you're recommending that the monument sign be removed?
The one that is on the corner, if it's not your intentions to reuse it, right now it was an old CVS sign that sits on the corner
Oh.
of Weston and
Yes, that will be
Madison.
removed.
Okay, just
Yeah.
make sure you note it on future plans so that we're all clear along with the fence. Other questions and comments from the commission? No? All right. Overall, I think we are in supportive of the project and, with the minor comments that local and our group has given you. We're not voting today. Do you feel like you've received enough feedback to continue the development of your design?
Oh, absolutely. This was a very good meeting, good feedback here, and we will continue to work with Landmarks Committee to, fine tune it, and then we'll come back for final at that time. But no, we've gotten really good comments from Landmark, and we'll continue to work with their staff.
Excellent. Well, then we look forward to seeing you back in the future.
All right, thank you very much, and enjoy your day.
Thank you, you too.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. That concludes our schematic plan review. Mr. Musson, you had something to say about the landmark nomination.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Before the nomination was called, I did want to note that staff is requesting a postponement on this one. We had some new potential significance come up that we wanted to look into and research because we think it will impact the property's eligibility as a landmark. So we will be putting that on an upcoming future agenda, but we are not prepared to present that today.
Okay, thank you for that update. Then we will move on to minutes. There were 6 meeting minutes that were circulated for review and comment. Does anyone have any comments on the meeting minutes, or would you like to put forward a motion for approval? Mr. Dulick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to approve the minutes.
Do you want to just read the dates so we're clear which
Oh,
ones?
yes. Motion to approve the Cleveland Landmarks Commission meeting minutes for May 13th, 2021, May 27th, 2021, June 24th, 2021, August 12th, 2021, June 26th, 2025, and July 24th, 2025.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stanberry, thank you for the second. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Mr. Musson, please call roll.
All right, Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Dulick,
Yes.
Mr. Lull,
Yes.
Mr. Sambry,
Yes.
Mr. Trasick,
Yes.
and Ms. Trett.
Yes,
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
excellent. Then we'll move on to administrative reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not much to report, just, I guess, speaking of minutes, we're down to about a dozen that are before 2025. So I guess Jessica and Rachel from our office have been working diligently on those. So I think, what was it, 2 years ago, we were at 80 something. So we're getting closer to caught up. And then once we're in the 2025s, we hope to get them to you more consistently and I guess promptly after the meetings while they're fresher in everyone's mind. Only other note is that the Heritage Ohio Conference is next week. And Carl and Rachel from our office will be attending that. So we'll be a little short staffed, but we should be all right. And that is all.
All right, excellent. I think then that is it for today's meeting and we will adjourn. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.